So 2 days ago, me and my friend decided to watch a bunch of these Minecraft ARGs, and the main channel we binged was Weefies. You probably already know who that is, with this uber popular new video. And like I said, his videos are really good, especially these 3 videos. This one, however, is the one that intrigued me the most. What makes this one special is that the game is like Among Us, but the difference is that no one knows anything. The killer doesn't even know that they are the killer. There's also a medic, but they don't know if they're a medic either. So everyone is literally completely in the dark on who's who. Before I get on to explaining more of the rules and roles of the players, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to my channel, because this is definitely the most amount of editing and other things that I've ever put into a video. And I've also done a lot of research that extends farther from the Weefies video, but I definitely recommend watching his video because it's really, really good. But I don't know how long this video is going to be as of writing the script currently, or, talking over the script. But what I do know is that you're really going to enjoy this video, because I will be answering the big question of who the Matchbox Killer is. So first, let's talk about the important roles. When the killer has their hand out and right-clicks on someone, that person will die at the end of the round. And when the medic has their hand out and right-clicks on somebody, that person gains immunity from dying for the entire round. You've probably already noticed something very important though. Right-clicking on someone with your hand out doesn't look like anything. No matter what role you have or anything, this isn't a mod, this is pretty much just vanilla Minecraft. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't make an audio cue. It doesn't make any type of noise or something at all. There's no action. Not only that, but you cannot see the name of the players, so you don't know for sure who you're talking to, or I guess who the main character is talking to. There is a way around that though, but I will talk about that later. Another problem is that they nor do we know the effective distance it takes to mark somebody with death or protection. The killer has one thing up their sleeve though, and it's how that person can tell if they are the killer or not. If the killer presses the G key, then they are swapped with a random person that is alive. And this is always a random player. It's not controllable who they swap with whatsoever, they just swap with a random person. However, everyone looks the same, and if we get rid of lag or buffering at all, then the swap is completely seamless, and people in groups could just play it off. Oh yeah, and players that were saved by the medic, like guaranteed to be saved, are told at the end of the round, and only the person that was attempted to be taken out would know that they were saved. But we only have their word, so can we really go off of that? Now that we have the roles and their abilities out of the way, there is one mechanic for everyone that allows them to see who they're talking to. The crossbow and spectral arrow allows people to see the names of who they're talking to, when you shoot them of course, so that is the only definitive way of knowing who you're talking to. And by the way, this isn't used at all, and it kind of infuriates me sometimes, when it definitely would have helped in a lot of scenarios. With all of that out of the way, we can move on to the videos and the game itself. Our main character is Oak, and we have no idea what his role is. He could be the medic, he could be an innocent, or he could just be the Spark. The Spark is the killer, by the way, so I just want to make that known. He runs into this mysterious player at the start, who just ignores him. And then he moves on to meet Flu, and she's actually welcoming. Then Glove appears and he's also pretty friendly, and they give each other a signal for when they meet up, which is to flash their axes at each other. They move on and see Mustard in the scrapyard, and he just sits there, watching them. No business. They leave and try to go to the maze, but the round ends, and it's revealed that Flute has died. Now let's go over this round. There are only 4 people that met with Flute, and I know what you're gonna say, 4? But there's only Oak, Glove, and Mustard. However, Flute told Oak earlier that she saw someone in the dining hall. So let's go over the positions of the people during the first round. But first, let's introduce everyone. We have our main character, Oak. We have Flute, who is dead. We have Glove, who is Oak's remaining friend. We have Mustard, who keeps to himself. And then we have the unknowns, Knife, Cardboard, and Venus. Knife and Cardboard claim to have seen each other, and when Knife was chasing Cardboard, he shot him with the arrow, which in turn would have revealed his name. But of course, we don't see him at all. Venus claims to have been with Knife and Cardboard at the end, but she didn't say anything about spawning with them, which means that the person that Flute ran into in the dining hall could have been Venus, but we still don't know who was telling the truth, or if it was more directly just Oak or Glove, who were the closest people to her. The mysterious person at the start is who I can assume was Cardboard. We learn pretty early on that Knife is pretty confrontational, which to me seems like it's pretty out of character that he'd just ignore Oak at the start, and at the end of the round, no one is voted out due to the lack of info. In round 2, Oak and Glove meet up again, and none of them see anyone on their way. Glove says that the person who killed Flute was probably the one in the dining hall, which is what we think. But Glove thinks that that person was Mustard, not Venus, which is a possibility because we don't really know what Mustard was doing before he got to the scrapyard, and Flute didn't know who was in the dining hall, which means she couldn't have known who Mustard really was. Glove takes Oak to the top of a large tree. This is so that they can catch someone in a lie. They find Knife and Cardboard arguing before splitting up, and we're pretty sure that Cardboard runs into Mustard here. They say something on a sign that we can't see before splitting up yet again. We have no idea where Venus is, and Oak tells Glove to meet him somewhere after the round. And when the round finally ends, it's revealed that Cardboard was the one that died. The meeting starts and everyone of course thinks it was Knife. This doesn't really make sense because this kill would be way too obvious considering how much they disliked each other in the previous round. It wouldn't be a very smart play. However, Venus claims that she was in the maze the whole entire game because she was looking for something interesting, but this doesn't really make sense. Why would she do that? In this game, it doesn't say anything about being able to pick up things around the map or finding anything that might help you find out who's who. It's unfortunate, but it's fair that way. This is a map that Weefy's made on the starting areas of this round. And just look at that maze. You're telling me that 3 people started in the maze and none of them saw each other in there? I find that pretty hard to believe. And I think that since Venus is our current suspect, that she might have seen Cardboard in there without him noticing and marked him. Maybe Venus in the first round wanted to see if she had a roll and then just right-clicked on Flute to see if anything would happen at the end. Since Oak and Glove were the closest to Flute in the first round, she could redirect the attention to them and be safe for the time being by not giving out her location at the start. Now I think in round 2, when she saw Cardboard in the maze, she wanted to be sure that she was the spark and ran into him without him noticing and right-clicked on him because we don't know the distance, like we said. So she could have done it at a point where he wouldn't see her. Even Glove points out this exact problem, but Venus denies it, and all we have is her word. Unsurprisingly, no one is voted out again due to lack of knowledge. Round 3 begins and nothing really happens. Oak and Glove do another stakeout, but this time, something interesting happens. Oak gets swapped to the maze all of a sudden, and he seems pretty shocked, but doesn't have any time to get out. The meeting starts and Glove says that he was marked, but was also saved. Wait, what? First things first, he blames it on Oak, but we only have his word that he was saved. Only he would know that. But Oak has been nothing but nice to Glove and has defended him this entire time. How does Glove know that it was Oak and not the person he passed in the atrium? Why would he suspect the only person that's been on his side and not think that it was the person in the atrium that marked him? Shouldn't he just think that Oak is the medic? What if Oak is the medic and has been protecting Glove this entire time and that's why no one else has been saved? This is not to mention that Oak was swapped. But of course, this shocked reaction could be an act for the camera. If Oak was the one that activated the swap, then wouldn't that mean that the person he swapped with was the medic and they saved Glove before the round ended? But the chances of that are extremely slim, so it has to be the person in the atrium, right? Unless Glove is just completely lying and is trying to get Oak out right now, because he's the spark. The problem with that is that no one died this round, which means either no one was marked at all, or someone really did get protected. After Oak got swapped, the person on the tree with Glove asked for more signs, to play it off as just that, asking for more signs. But they probably marked him in the process. We don't know who was in the atrium still, at the start of the round with Glove, but we do know that they are probably guaranteed to be the medic now, and they were possibly the one that saved Glove, considering that Oak isn't saying that he was the one that saved Glove to clear his name. After more talking, Knife confirms that he was in the maze. But hold on a second, that's where Oak was swapped to, which means it has to be Knife, right? In Weefy's video, it says that Knife blamed Venus for some reason, but I wanted to know where she was during round 3 because we didn't really get an answer to that. So I went and checked the real video and it turns out that she was in the graveyard area pretty much the whole time. But again, all we have is her word. The round ends yet again with no one voted out. Oak and Glove decide to set a trap, with Glove being the bait. How do we intend on doing that? Well, Glove decides to aim the arrow at the sky and shoots himself with it. They set up in the lava room, but then it happens again. Oak is swapped yet another time, and it's in the maze again. He tries to make it back frantically, but when he finally gets out, he's too late. Glove is dead. Before we get on to the meeting, let's talk about it. The trap is decent, And I was thinking at first that they could improve this by having Oak get shot with an arrow too, so that he knows who he's talking to. But then people would have seen Oak's name through the walls as well, and they wouldn't have walked into the room. But then there's the other problem of the swap. That's what gets me. Me and my friend asked the question of how Oak gets swapped again, which is quite weird considering the swap is with a random person. And for it to be Oak yet again is a little weird. It's possible that Oak did a similar play to before when he was on the tree, where he gets swapped away and makes it look like he was completely shocked and surprised. But before it made sense because it was towards the end of the round. But this time, Oak has way too much time to get all the way back. And he almost does. And why would that person stick with Glove and not tell him about the situation if they were swapped? They could have just told Glove that they were swapped and just been like, okay, it's Oak. That would just mean that Oak is out. He'd lose, which means that Oak isn't the spark. There's no way. This play just doesn't work in his favor whatsoever. So who is it? Oak immediately blames Knife in round 4, and Knife blames him back. To us, it seems like this is definitely Knife, but to the others, they don't know. Knife says that he was swapped while he was in the maze, and reappeared in the library and then ran into Mustard in the lounge, before going back to the maze. Of course, none of this really matters because Oak does end up convincing them that Knife should get voted out, and he does. But the game doesn't end. That could mean that the spark swapped with Knife in the maze, and then stayed in the maze to wait for the swap cooldown, and then could have swapped again with Oak and secured the kill on Glove. The spark staying in the same place as the first swap is extremely smart, because then they could just agree with Oak and say that Knife is lying about the swaps. In round 5, Oak has had enough. He goes straight to the maze and keeps himself there with the crossbow loaded. Eventually, he does find a decent place to hide out, but then someone appears. Apparently, this is Venus. Now, this is the truth, but if I'm Oak in this situation, I'm shooting that person. Of course, he doesn't shoot it though because he's stupid as hell. Fuck signs, because you can obviously lie, and it's not like shooting them hurts anything. I know it would give away their location to Mustard if he was the spark, but who cares if that's the case? Then either Oak or Venus is the medic, which means they are safe. But eventually, Mustard finds them anyway, and Oak just leaves. He sprints out of there because he thinks that Mustard is the spark, which makes sense, considering he's been with Venus the whole entire time, and to make sure they were never swapped, they came up with code words on signs. Eventually, this is supposedly Mustard that catches up with him, and again, this would have been a great time to use the arrow to confirm, but the round ends and no one dies. Mustard claims that he's the medic and he was trying to give immunity to Oak, but because Oak ran, he thinks that Oak is now the spark. Oak thinks Mustard is the spark because he was with Venus the entire time. Venus is now in the middle. It's up to her in order to decide who gets voted out and who doesn't. It's extremely tense and there's a lot of swapping. Oak claims that he's just innocent. He has no role, and Mustard is the spark. But that doesn't make sense. If that's the case, then Venus would also either have to be innocent or the medic in this specific scenario, which means that she would have no problem with this logic, but she doesn't say anything like that. Mustard is saying that he tried to save Oak, but after Oak's reaction to things, he now thinks that Oak is the spark. But again, that doesn't make sense. If Oak was the spark, then in 3 different places of this match, he would have had time to just win. Right here when he first sees Venus, then the entire time he's with Venus, he could have marked her. And finally, when Mustard corners him, he could have just ended it. He's the medic, so giving immunity to the killer wouldn't do anything. Oak would have just won, but he didn't, because Oak is right. He's just innocent. He doesn't have a role, but that doesn't matter. When the voting ends, Oak is the one that gets voted out. So who is it? It should be Mustard, right? No, it's not. In fact, without a shadow of a doubt, it's Venus. In the first round, Flute ran into Venus in the dining hall, and Venus tested to see if right-clicking on her would do anything. In the second round, Venus tests yet again on cardboard to confirm that she is the spark, and it's not just a coincidence that Flute died in the first round due to Oak or Glove. Then in round 3, Glove passes Mustard in the atrium, who gives him immunity, because Mustard is the medic. But wait, how could Venus have swapped with Oak in the maze if she was in the graveyard? Well, that's the thing. She worded it in a way that could clear her. She said that she was pretty much in the graveyard the entire time. And guess where the graveyard is located? That's right, it's just a short walk away from the maze, which means that if anyone brought up that they didn't see her in the graveyard, she could say that she'd said pretty much, not that she was there the entire time. I think that towards the end of the round, she quickly fled to the maze and then swapped one last time to get an edge, but failed because Glove had immunity. In round 4, she tries to do it yet again, and this time she's successful in marking Glove. We know this because in my previous analysis, she first swapped with Knife and then waited in the maze to swap again, but this time she swapped with Oak again and killed Glove. Then in the meeting, all she has to do is act clueless and agree with Oak to get Knife voted out. Finally, in the last round, Venus does mark Oak, but of course Mustard gets in the way of that, and she now has to pick a side. She's already won. If you still don't believe me that it's her, then think about what she says right here. She says she was stuck? My ass, you were stuck. You're the same person that said you spent nearly an entire round in the maze to find something interesting, and you didn't even think to use that knowledge to escape the maze or get away? You're supposed to be innocent, not stupid. And yet you're not using the knowledge that you've already confirmed you've had to live, or to at least win with another person? You know just as well as I do what this means. Venus is sus.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow, what a video.
If you made it this far into the video, then I congratulate you, because not many people do. But I do ask once again that you subscribe to my channel. This video took a really long time to make, and I also think you should check out Weefy's video too and his channel as a whole. He makes extremely good videos that you don't even need to like Minecraft to care about. But like I said before, I spent a long time on this video. It took a lot more than just watching Weefy's video to come up with my own conclusion. I had to go back to the original videos and everything like that, because I didn't really just want to repost Weefy's video pretty much, because that would literally just be stealing content. I tried to use points and clips from Weefy's videos as little as possible for this point, just exactly. But pretty much what Weefy's did was go over the ARG as a whole, and didn't really say who he thought the killer was, or the spark. But I wanted to actually answer it. But I hope you have a great rest of your day or night, depending on when you watch this, and I will see you guys in the next video. See ya!